At the edges of our solar system, far beyond the familiar worlds we know, there are smaller places. Quieter places. They're not quite planets. Not quite asteroids. They drift in the cold dark, each one a world of its own, each one shaped by a history we are only beginning to understand. Tonight, we travel to the 5 dwarf planets of our solar system. 5 small worlds scattered across vast distances, waiting in the silence. Let yourself settle in. We begin closer to home than you might expect. In the wide gap between Mars and Jupiter, there is a belt of rock and ice. Millions of fragments left over from the early days of the solar system. Most of them are small. Some are little more than dust. But one stand apart. Ceres. Ceres is the largest object in the asteroid belt and the only dwarf planet found in the inner solar system. It is round. It is heavy enough that its own gravity has pulled it into a sphere. And beneath its dusty, gray surface, there may be something remarkable. Water. Not flowing rivers or open seas, but ice. Vast amounts of it, locked into the crust. Some scientists believe Ceres may hold more fresh water than all the lakes and rivers of Earth combined. Hidden away in the cold, untouched for billions of years. There are bright spots on its surface. Strange, glowing patches that puzzled astronomers for years. We now believe they're deposits of salt, left behind when briny water rose from below and froze in the vacuum of space. A small world. Quiet. Ancient. And perhaps, in some deep way, still alive beneath its surface. Imagine standing on Ceres. The sun would look small from here. A bright star, no longer the warm presence we know on Earth. The sky would be black, even in daylight. And around you, a horizon of gray dust, broken only by those pale white spots gleaming in the distance. A world that has been waiting in silence since the beginning. We travel onward now, past Jupiter, past Saturn, past Uranus and Neptune, out into the deep cold of the outer solar system, the Kuiper belt. And in this belt, we find the second dwarf planet on our journey, Pluto. For most of the 20th century, Pluto was considered the 9th planet. A small, faraway world at the edge of everything we knew. Then, in 2006, it was reclassified. Not because it changed, but because we did. We learned more. We found other worlds like it. And the definition of a planet was rewritten. But Pluto did not become any less interesting. When we finally sent a spacecraft to visit it, what we found was astonishing. Mountains of water ice, frozen as hard as stone. Vast plains of nitrogen ice, smooth and slowly flowing like glaciers. A heart-shaped region named Tombaugh Regio, pale and bright against the darker terrain. Pluto has a thin atmosphere. It has weather. It may even have a hidden ocean of liquid water beneath its frozen surface. It has 5 moons. The largest, Charon, is so big that Pluto and Charon orbit each other almost like a double world. They are locked together, always showing each other the same face, drifting slowly through the dark. The sunlight that reaches Pluto is faint. Noon on Pluto would feel like deep twilight on Earth. But there is light enough to see by. Light enough to reveal a world that is small and cold and far more complex than anyone imagined. Pluto is no longer called a planet. But out there in the dark, it does not seem to mind. Further still, deeper into the Kuiper belt, here we find Haumea. Haumea is unlike any other world we have visited so far. It is not round. It spins so fast, completing a full rotation every 4 hours, that its own rotation has stretched it into the shape of an egg. A long, oval world, tumbling end over end through the cold dark. It is one of the fastest spinning large objects in our solar system. Haumea has 2 small moons, named Hiyaka and Namaka. And it has something else, something no other dwarf planet has. A ring. A thin band of debris orbiting around it, discovered only recently when Haumea passed in front of a distant star. Its surface is covered in water ice. Bright, reflective, almost glowing in the faint sunlight. Astronomers believe Haumea may have been struck long ago by another large object. The collision would explain its strange shape, its fast spin, its moons, and the icy debris that still surrounds it. A wounded world, perhaps, but also a beautiful one, spinning quietly in the dark, wearing the marks of an ancient impact like a memory it cannot forget. We continue outward. Our next destination is Makemake. Makemake is named after a creation god of the Rapa Nui people of Easter Island. It was discovered in 2005, and it is one of the brightest objects in the Kuiper belt. It is slightly smaller than Pluto. Its surface is covered in frozen methane, which gives it a reddish-brown color. There is also frozen ethane and nitrogen, slowly evaporating and refreezing as Makemake travels its long, slow orbit around the Sun. A single year on Makemake lasts about 305 Earth years. For a long time, Makemake was thought to have no moons. It seemed to be alone out there. But in 2016, astronomers discovered a small, dark moon orbiting it. They named it MK2. Standing on Makemake would be standing in deep silence. The sun would be a distant point of light. The temperature would be almost unimaginably cold, far below anything we experience on Earth. The ground beneath your feet would be hard methane ice, faintly red in the pale light. A quiet world, far from home, slowly turning in the dark. And now we arrive at the last of our 5. Eris. Eris is the most distant dwarf planet known, and one of the most massive. In fact, when it was first discovered in 2005, it was thought to be larger than Pluto. It was this discovery that led to the reclassification of Pluto and to the creation of the dwarf planet category itself. Eris is roughly the same size as Pluto, but heavier. It is denser, and it is far, far away. Its orbit takes it 3 times further from the Sun than Pluto, into a region of space called the scattered disk. A year on Eris lasts about 557 Earth years. Its surface is bright and icy, covered in frozen methane and nitrogen. It has one known moon, Haumea, a small dark companion that orbits slowly around it. Eris is named after the Greek goddess of strife and discord. A fitting name, perhaps, for the world that changed our understanding of the solar system. Out there, in the deep dark, Eris drifts. A pale, frozen world, so far from the sun that even sunlight takes hours to reach it. A place of perfect stillness, perfect silence. Here are 2 more dwarf planets that astronomers have proposed, though their status is not yet certain. One is Sedna, a strange, distant object with one of the longest orbits of any known body in the solar system. A single year on Sedna lasts more than 10,000 Earth years. It spends most of its time in profound darkness, far beyond even Eris. The other is Quawar, a small, icy world in the Kuiper belt with a moon of its own and a thin ring around it. Quietly orbiting, waiting to be better understood. There may be more out there. World we have not yet found. drifting in the dark, far from the warmth of the sun, keeping their own quiet company. 5 small worlds. 5 quiet places at the edges of what we know. Ceres, with its hidden water and bright salt deposits. Pluto, with its frozen heart and its 5 moons. Haumea, spinning fast and wearing its ancient scars. Makemake, red and silent in the deep cold. And Eris, the most distant of them all, drifting in the scattered disk. They're not the planets we grew up with. There's something else. So much waiting to be discovered. Out there in the cold, in the dark, in the silence between the stars. Tonight, you have traveled with them for a little while. You have stood on their surfaces in your imagination. You have felt the faint sunlight, seen the distant stars, listened to the silence that surrounds them. Catch you on the next journey.